The rain had just started falling in thin, silver lines across the cracked pavement of downtown Chicago when everyone in the crowded employment hall turned their heads at once. A young girl in worn shoes and a faded jacket stood near the back, her hands trembling as she clutched a folder that looked too thin to carry any hope. The sign above the hall promised opportunity, but the eyes of the people waiting inside said otherwise. In a city where power spoke louder than pain, no one expected anything from someone who looked like she had already lost everything. And when she finally stepped forward and quietly said she spoke 9 languages, the room filled with laughter, especially from the Arab millionaire seated at the front, a man known for crushing dreams as easily as he signed contracts. Before the story continues, take a moment and ask yourself this: do you believe kindness can change lives, and that second chances still exist in this world? If you do, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel so stories like this keep reaching hearts like yours. Her name was Grace Thompson, and she had grown up in a forgotten corner of Ohio where dreams were taught to stay small. Her mother had cleaned hospital floors for decades, and her father had passed away when she was 12, leaving behind silence and unpaid bills. Grace learned early that survival meant adapting, and adapting meant learning. She picked up Spanish from migrant workers, French from a retired teacher who traded lessons for groceries, Arabic from a refugee family she helped after school, and bits of German, Mandarin, Italian, Portuguese, and Russian from free libraries and borrowed phones. Languages became her escape, her armor, her proof that she was more than her circumstances. But none of that showed in her clothes or the way she stood nervously under fluorescent lights. The man who laughed was named Khalid Rahman, a self-made real estate mogul visiting from Dubai, known across the U.S. business circuit for his sharp instincts and colder heart. He had come to the recruitment event to scout translators for a global development project, but when Grace stepped forward, he barely looked at her resume. To him, she looked like another hopeful soul reaching far beyond her place. His smile carried disbelief, and the room followed his lead, dismissing her before she could even explain herself. But Grace didn't flinch. Years of being underestimated had taught her patience. She simply asked for a chance to prove it. What happened next shifted the air in the room. Without raising her voice, she began explaining a complex contract clause in fluent Arabic, then switched seamlessly into French to clarify a legal nuance, followed by Mandarin to explain logistics. She didn't pause. She didn't stumble. The words flowed naturally, like breath. The laughter died. Chairs creaked as people leaned forward. Khalid's confident expression slowly unraveled as realization set in. This wasn't memorization. This was mastery. He tested her again, silently handing her documents written in multiple languages, each filled with technical jargon. Grace read them calmly, translating and explaining cultural context that even seasoned professionals missed. Her hands still trembled, but her voice didn't. And then, in a moment that froze the entire room, she corrected an error in one of Khalid's own contracts, an error that would have cost him millions. Silence followed, heavy and undeniable. For the first time in years, Khalid felt something unfamiliar: humility. He saw not a poor girl, but a woman shaped by struggle, sharpened by resilience, and powered by a hunger no privilege could buy. The room that once dismissed her now watched in awe as the power dynamic flipped completely. Grace had not raised her voice or begged for respect. She had earned it through knowledge, patience, and quiet strength. What no one knew was that just hours earlier, Grace had almost turned back. She had counted her last few dollars, wondering if the bus ride was worth it. She had nearly convinced herself that dreams were for people born into comfort. But standing there, watching disbelief turn into respect, she realized something powerful: the world may judge quickly, but truth always has a way of rising. Khalid stood up slowly, his laughter gone, replaced by something close to reverence. He offered her an opportunity that would change her life, a position not as an assistant, but as a cultural and linguistic advisor for his international projects. Not charity. Not pity. Respect. And for Grace, it wasn't just a job. It was proof that her years of silent effort had not been wasted. As she walked out of the building that day, the rain had stopped. The city looked different, brighter somehow. Not because her life was suddenly perfect, but because she finally knew her worth. She wasn't invisible anymore. She had spoken, and the world had listened. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a second to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel so more stories like this can be told. And before this story ends, I want to ask you something deeply personal. Please leave a comment telling us what this story made you feel, because your words might be the hope someone else needs today. Grace's journey reminds us that greatness doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it walks in quietly, wearing worn shoes and carrying 9 languages in a fragile folder, waiting for the world to finally stop laughing and start listening.